All right, this session is going to be about learning to tension the hip flexors and the abdominals as a way of reducing the hyperextension of the low back by tucking the tailbone, engaging the hip flexors, squeezing a little bit of the glutes, bringing the front ribs down as we try to get extension. But we're going to do this on the ground. So we're going to start face up with our feet planted on the floor. Back on the ground, shoulders on the ground, tuck the chin in, lengthen the back of the neck. Arms to the side, palm face up. Okay, keep the nails on the ground, 10 nails on the ground. Your choice, you can bring the knees together or keep them perhaps 6 inches to 12 inches apart. We're gonna just take a few big breaths here. Expand the rib cage. Keep the shoulders down. Start to tuck the tailbone. Feel the hip flexors, the front hip flexors engaging. Start to squeeze so that you feel your abs engaging. Once you have this tension in the front, you can lift the hips off the ground. You're gonna feel your low back engaging. If you can, squeeze the glutes, but don't forget to tension the front. Lots and lots of tension on the front. The hands are on the sides, 10 nails touching the ground. Big breaths here. Squeeze, squeeze. Tuck that tailbone hard, hard, hard. Feel what it feels like to rotate your pelvis. Tuck the tailbone. Lengthen the low back by squeezing the front. Maybe a little bit of squeezing the knees together if it doesn't give you pain. Keep the chin tucked in. Feel the low back firing, feel the front firing. Take one more inhale. And exhale, slowly roll yourself down, top to bottom, from the top of the vertebrae to the sacrum and tailbone. And then just walk your feet out a little bit. And this time we're going to flex the ankle. We're going to be pressing the heels towards the head without moving it. We're not going to close the hamstring. We're going to keep it long as we tension it. Relatively, the pelvis will pull towards the heels. But first, we start with tucking the tailbone, engaging the front. Crush the spine to the ground. Once you got that front tension protecting your back, you're going to pop the hips off the ground. Feel the low back, get into the glutes, and then press those heels. Like you're trying to touch your head with your heels, feel the hips pushing towards the heels, and then work with that front back tension as you add the hamstrings. The hamstrings should be burning. Keep flexing your ankles, keep breathing here. Tuck the tailbone, there should be no pain. If you feel pain, you just back off. Take one more inhale. Exhale, slowly roll the spine, release the hamstrings. And then let's turn into our belly. We're gonna try to get the same tension on the front, but facing down. We're not quite gonna go into a back extension. We're simply going to start in the position of a back extension with the forehead on the ground, hands to the side of the ears. But the head and the arms will stay on the ground. Your option if you want to squeeze the knees here or keep them apart. If you feel like that gives you pain on the low back, skip it. All we're going to do here is tuck the tailbone, feel the hip flexors engaging, and then try to get your front ribs down, popping a little bit the belly button off the ground. It's like I'm trying to get all my front hip flexors and my abdominals to press my spine upwards to the sky. If you have to keep your head down, keep it down. If you can lift your head off the ground, great. Try to avoid putting extra pressure on the hands. A little bit is good, but if you feel like lifting the head gives you too much pressure down or pain on the back, skip it. We're basically just trying to tension the front here. Now, keeping that tension on the front, bring yourself into this supported, safe sphinx. So I'm still tucking pretty hard here. I'm gonna set my elbows slightly past my shoulders, tuck the chin, try to pull your head up away from the ground, don't look forward, chin in, and then tuck, tuck, tuck so hard that maybe your pelvis comes off the ground, maybe not, but look for the tension in the front, should be no tension on the low back. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze the glutes, tuck the tailbone, and then slowly release down to the floor, and then we're gonna do a child pose. So big toes touching, knees wide, forehead on the ground, tuck the chin in. Walk your hands to the right to get a nice stretch on the left side of the low back. Back to center with the hands. And walk them to the left. Couple breaths here. And back to center. And slowly bring yourself up to standing. And now what we're gonna do is just a basic founder. Okay, a little decompression. And then a basic founder. Again, keeping nice space on the low back by tension in the front. On this one, we're gonna use our adder anchors. So the heels are gonna pushing away from each other. I'm spreading the legs, my heels, my knees are pushing out. I'm trying to do a little bit of an external rotation, dragging the feet away from each other, trying to break the mat apart. And then I'm gonna hinge my hips back as I keep a sense of extending and opening the shoulders, okay? Now the trick here is pushing the feet away from each other, toes in, heels out a little bit. Tuck the tailbone, no pain on the low back whatsoever. Hips back, knees back as far as you can, no pain on the back. Tuck the tailbone. Chest up, shoulders wide, arms to the side, opening, engaging the back of the shoulders, trying to pull the head back, not looking forward, not looking up. Chin down, hips back, tuck, tuck, tuck. If you feel like your knees are forward too much, send them back. Find your glutes by spreading the legs and loading with the hinge. Find the hamstrings. You should feel extension, the back extensors working your torso upright, but if it's too much, pin the front ribs down, tuck the tailbone. Take a big breath here. Stand up. Shake that off. You can either do another child pose or you can play this video one more time.